Okay, guys, welcome to Libation and Vibration, where we empower women and we talk about our journeys as to how we become the women we are today. I have Imani here with me, Imani Johnson, who is now a Netflix producer, which is amazing. We met through a mutual friend at a Friendsgiving, and glad that we hit it off.
Yeah.
Imani, introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, Coach K, thank you for having me. I am Imani Johnson. I am a documentary film producer. Our latest published piece is High on the Hog, the second season of a documentary series about Black food in America, how Black people have transformed and created what American cuisine is today. I'm so
Mhm.
happy to be on your podcast. I'm truly, truly honored. And it was so great to meet you at Friendsgiving. So
Now,
lovely to continue our
talk about
convo.
Black food, right? That
Yeah.
food was so good. Our friends had this Friendsgiving that was full of food for not just people who eat meat, but also vegans, which was nice for myself. It's my first vegan Thanksgiving that I actually went to without having to feel
That's
like all I can
awesome.
eat is stuffing.
Mhm.
um, so, Imani, let's talk about your journey. Well, let's start off with what inspired you to be this Netflix producer.
Wow. So when I was young, my parents encouraged me to dream big with anything that I wanted to do. When I was really, really young, I'm talking like 5, 6, I loved to write. I loved storytelling. So I used to I used to read, I used to write a lot. I used to write my own little stories.
Oh,
I grew up in front of a TV. I always grew up on a couch, fell asleep on a couch. I loved watching TV. I wanted to write for TV, but even so young, I didn't think I was creative enough. And my mom was very career oriented. And so I found myself teetering toward journalism,
okay.
still pretty young. Um, but I still had my love of TV and storytelling and the camera. And so as I kind of developed what I was good at writing and my love of TV, those kind of things combined, and I started to kind of fall into documentaries.
Mm,
And even though I told myself very young that I wasn't creative enough to tell my own fiction stories, it kind of really put me on the path of, excuse me, really put me on the path of documentary filmmaking. And I truly believe that there's nothing as creative as real life.
mm, that's
So,
true.
and I grew up in a predominantly white area. And both of my parents were very big about making sure that me and my brother were still very grounded in our culture as African Americans and Caribbean Americans. So um, I always drifted toward telling Black stories,
Mm,
um, talking about Black history and reimagining what future can be for Black people across the globe. So I kind of created a brand for myself, speaking about Black people, Black culture, and anything that has to do with our innovation.
yeah.
So yeah, that's a real quick story of how
The
I'm Black.
summary. Now, do you feel like you fell into this segue of like talking about Black culture because not only you being predominantly Black yourself, but also just understanding that there wasn't enough information or education on how we became how we are and why we eat what we eat and things like that. You feel like you felt like you had to share that story?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually was the only Black girl in my school, and when we moved here in the Long Island.
Wow.
Yeah, for only for a year or two, because I like to call my area. I live in Long Island. I like to call this area reverse gentrification.
Hmm.
It rapidly diversified
Wow.
as we grew here. There's a lot of white flight, so Black people start moving in.
Gotcha.
Immigrants start moving in,
Gotcha.
white people start leaving, and so even though the population was changing,
Hmm.
it felt like the infrastructure didn't match the community. Like there wasn't really like there's like basketball teams for the community for the kids to play in. Like there wasn't any teachers of color or people in authority positions for us to look up to. It wasn't seeming like the community was ready to change
Mm-mm.
despite the population change.
Population.
So a lot of times we had to kind of make do for ourselves. If you wanted to learn about your culture, you had to seek that out for yourself. If
Hmm.
you wanted to build community amongst people of color
You
in the
have to
community,
seek
you
that out
had
for
to build
yourself.
it. Right. And so that was something that was apparent to me very young. And I was on that path automatically. So I even remember like being young. My name's Imani, of course, the last day of Kwanzaa. So I
Right.
remember learning that in school, and they'll be like, "So, what you celebrate?" So all the kids look back at me. I'm like, I don't even know the first thing about Kwanzaa. I'm not you know what I mean? So little things like that. I remember learning about like Martin Luther King and his assassination when I was
Hmm.
young, and I remember crying in class, and they didn't know what to do with me,
Me.
so they sent me to the nurse, and I was like, "Miss Hicks, am I gonna die like Martin Luther King? He was, I'm
No,
only
but
19
it's
years."
it happens. It like I feel
Yeah,
like what we learn in school takes a huge effect onto like what we realize how society views us.
yeah,
And it takes a really big toll on our mental health because I don't know how it was for you, but for me, I went to a school on the Lower East Side. Um, and even though you're technically still in Harlem, you still had people that looked at you crazy for walking over here or, going to school with white children, Asian children. And it's funny, my school was completely separated. So we had two different schools and one building. And the rich kids went to one side of the school and, the other kids went to the other. And it was just so weird for me to see these kids in the same building as you, but to know that one, they're getting a better education than you, but two, because they're put in this pedestal from an early age, they view you differently.
yeah.
And it's kind of like, at a young age, it's like, but my mother told me I was special. So
Oh yeah.
I definitely understand that aspect.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I feel like kids reveal it all. Like,
Yeah,
even though parents sometimes have a hard time explaining these complex issues with children,
right.
like, they really will share everything. So, growing up around a lot of young white kids that had no filter,
Hmm.
it really taught me a lot about how to navigate like this world, like the world of white supremacy or the world of just, being a minority.
Right.
And it's interesting you said that my mom was a nurse and she worked in like the school districts, and she was also working in like New York City schools that were charter school on one floor, public school on
Yeah.
another, and like kids seeing the direct disparities or even like the way that you're treated in one class versus another. So kids are seeing it, they're talking about it, like so. But yeah, it's interesting. But I think like if I didn't have those experiences that I did at a young age, I would not know how to really see the world. Like it just because
Mm.
I was also like I grew up in a black family. My mom put me in a black church. Like activities just to keep me grounded, and so it just really made me someone who observes the world because it was confusing. Like the
Yeah.
different changes, the different environments, different ways people talk to me, how different people see me and react to me, and that really made me observe the world, and it made me really want to tell people stories because I just felt like
Mm.
I was always stuck in somebody's story.
Story.
So I want to tell other people's stories, and it helped me develop like what my story is a
Mm.
little bit better too.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Wow.
Thank you,
Um,
Coach. Thank you.
so let's talk about what took you to get there. How selfish did you have to be to realize, okay, this is what I want for myself? If I'm going to be this storyteller, because that's what you are essentially. If I'm going to be this storyteller, what do I have to sacrifice to get there? And,
Mm.
what do I have to do for myself to get there?
Mm. That's a really interesting question because I feel like I'm still learning
Mm,
how to take up the space I deserve.
right.
I think my mom was a great teacher because she she always called her, like, for me and my brother, she's like, I'm your personal assistant. Like, anything that you, no dream is too big. Like, we
Right.
can work at it piece by piece. And so she used to like seek out opportunities for me. Like, anytime I said, "Oh, I'm interested in writing," she would seek out an opportunity for me. I'm interested in film,
Nice.
seek out an opportunity. And there was even opportunities that were like not based in Long Island, but for the five boroughs. And she said, "Okay, well, we're just gonna write a very compelling letter because you're passionate, and we're gonna, you know." So learning how to go after things was like the first step to me realizing that I was worth anything.
Yeah, worth the energy, worth the time.
Exactly. And My dad was an entrepreneur, and he used to tell me, like, I used to always want to have a job. Like, as the youngest, if I could have a job, I wanted to have a job. My dad said, "Well, I don't want you to learn how to be an employee. I want
Mm,
you to learn how to be an employer," like very young, like
yes.
10, 11, 12. And so he said, "Okay, you want to have a job? Instead of that, why don't you write me a business proposal and I'll be your investor?" Things like that. It just really changed my mindset from a really young age to think bigger of myself and to
Self.
help me to take up more space. But to answer your question a little more specifically, in my journey, um, being a Black woman, I feel like you always have to prove yourself,
Hmm.
and
If
that's
that
something
ain't
that
the truth, I don't know what is.
right. Um, but I studied what I was passionate about. So I studied journalism, and I also double majored in Africana studies. And
Wow.
mhm, so it really helped with the brand. And that I was so thankful that I did that. And even though I did it for me, it really did carve a path in my career and put me in touch with Black people that are at the top of their careers.
Right.
Um, so it drove me to work with a lot of really strong Black women, and hearing their stories and allowing them to mentor me has proven to me, like, it's not even just about the work, but it's how you speak about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the, I don't know, it's like the je ne sais quoi. Like, you have to like
And
demand respect with your presence,
mm-hmm.
with your voice, keeping your head up, all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm really still learning it. I'm a people pleaser, and I'm really working on it. And at first, I thought that that was why I was getting where I was getting. But a lot of the Black women who have mentored me in this space have told me it is because of your work ethic. It is
Mm.
because of your passion. It's the way you see people and how you take their story and express it to the world. And I think that's just because I've been able to observe so many different worlds.
Yeah.
So I can translate that. And I think that's helping me translate myself better. But um, yeah, I think I'm at a point in my career now where my resume speaks for itself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have, shows on HBO, and I've credits on Netflix and Hulu and all the things. And now I'm at a space where I want to do my own project. So I'm being forced to speak
For
speak my
itself.
resume to
Yeah.
people, tell people, yes, I'm ready to jump to this next step. Like, I'm not just a producer. I could be a director. I could be an EP. I could an executive, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think I even barely scratched the surface of your question, but truly, I'm still learning it. I
It's
am.
okay. I feel like it's funny. I feel like as you get older, you realize that learning doesn't stop. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you learn as you get older and as you get older, but
Mhm.
you have to be open to learning it. You can't think you got the answers to everything. You have to be very open to learning it. Like I was reading this book the other day, and it was talking about how like you have to be patient with your parents
Mm.
because at the end of the day, this is their first time experiencing this too.
So
And when
true.
I listened to it, I was like, I'm reading this and I was like, but that also equates to your life as a person.
Yeah.
You're going through these experiences for the first time, so you have to be patient with yourself. You have to give yourself
Mm,
grace. And if you don't, you get into this dark place, you get into this bad mindset of thinking like, no, I should have been here. No, you're learning. You're
yeah.
learning how to get to where you need to be. You're learning who the person you need to be for yourself to get there as well. So
Yeah.
I hear you talking about being a people pleaser. I'm a former people pleaser. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also realized what made me change that is that in order for me to be who I need to be for everybody else, I have to be who I need to be for myself first.
Yeah.
And that comes from pouring into my cup first. Because if
Absolutely.
I don't have nothing to pour, then I'm not who I need to be for you in the first place. So
Yeah.
I I'm happy that you are still learning. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing we could take away from everything part of life is learning and growing and just trying to
Yeah.
be a better version of ourselves no matter what it looks like to others.
You're absolutely right. And I think because I've gotten to a place in my career that a lot of people around me respect, my peers and my family,
Hmm.
like it's easy for people to kind of like from the outside looking in, like be like, oh, she got it.
Yeah.
But I think because of that, it has really allowed me to get deep into like an ego death. And like the more
Mm.
I learn, the more I realize I know nothing at all. And that's been the new journey
Journey
for
for
me
you.
now. But I have a lot more grace with it now. I used to be, a perfectionism. I like to plan 5, 10 years ahead. And,
Yeah.
if I fall even a little bit
Yeah.
off the path, I'm freaking out.
Freaking
My
out,
mind
Mr.
is
Krabs all the
out.
way.
Exactly, but I think I'm just starting to feel comfortable with letting God set a path,
Mm.
or to let to because I think I never expected to be where I'm at right now.
Hmm.
And so if it was up to me, I would still be, 9 to 5, not making nearly as much as I'm making now, not making the impact on the world that I'm making now.
Right.
So now I'm really starting to rest on an understanding that's far bigger than me, because it has catapulted me places. So I'm really just starting to get comfortable with submitting to,
Yes.
yeah, to any
Yes.
higher power,
Yeah.
however you describe it.
I think that's it's interesting that you say that. I feel like sometimes we forget that the journey and the path that's created for us is created for us, and you're a fool if you think it's made differently. You're a
Hmm.
fool if you think that you're the one that creates this path for you. What you
True.
can do is you could disrupt your own path. You could make decisions that you know that you weren't meant to make, but you made them because you felt like it was off instinct instead of trusting the path that was created for you.
And I
So,
sure have done that.
yeah, listen, we all do it though. Once
Hmm.
again, that's learning, is realizing, okay, this doesn't make me happy, and this
Yeah,
doesn't serve my higher power. This isn't the impact that God intended for me to make. I have to do what He put out for me to make.
yeah,
Once you have that passion and you really realize what it is, it's like there ain't nothing that's stopping you but you.
it's true.
Because He
It's
already
true.
laid it out for you. He put those stones down for you to take that step and that step and that step. But no one stops you but you.
And if I heard this 5 years ago, I'd have been like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
right. Exact, girl. You talking to
But
a hard headed one. I know. I know.
I mean, when like, when God really wrestles you up
Mm-hmm.
and really tells you about yourself, and there's nothing left for you to do but just rest.
Yep.
I mean,
It takes off every single time.
to places I could have never imagined,
Yeah. But look
for
at you
sure.
now.
Yeah.
Look at you now.
And I'm
Success.
only 26.
I
Like, I'm
know.
so shocked.
But you got to
Yeah.
think about it this way. Like, what I like to do is like, I look at what my mom was at my age.
Mm-hmm.
What she had to sacrifice at my age.
For
What she
sure.
wanted for herself at my age. And then I look at myself and I'm like, I'm the prodigy of what she wanted for herself. And I will
Absolutely.
continue not to prove myself to her, but to show her that the work that she put into me, the investment that she put into me, how she raised me is paying off.
Yeah.
So, like you said, yeah, you wish you had those words 5 years ago. And if you got it, you probably still wouldn't have listened to it. But when the
Yeah.
time is right, you find your place every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know your mom is so proud of you. That's awesome.
She a pain in my butt though. So my next question to you is, what does your wellness journey look like? Do you have a
Mm.
habit routine that you're starting to create? Is there something that you do for yourself every single day that allows you to be this creative person?
Mm. Wow, that's a great question. Wow. Um, I am getting better at taking care of myself first. Back to what you said about filling up your own cup,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that my mind and body and spirit are connected is still something I'm putting together, but I feel like I'm getting better at that. But the biggest thing for me, I think, coming into 2024 is bringing spontaneity into my life, because
Mm,
I feel like you can't create unless you explore. Like, you have to take life in to create anew.
yes.
And so a big thing for me in 2024 is to like really go out and live life. And I think the pandemic really taught a lot of us
Yeah.
that time waits for no one and your life will pass you by if you let it.
Yes, it
So
will.
I'm really trying to seize the day. I'm really trying to be more spontaneous, and just more intimate with people and like my environment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that looks like. I guess I don't have a routine in that just yet, but I'm hoping to go out of my planning so that life could come at me in ways I don't expect.
Yes.
I travel a lot. I think 2023, I was able to travel every other month of the year. That was a big goal of
Nice.
mine that I was
That's
able to
dope.
achieve. Thank you so much. So I want to do more of that, traveling, eating new food, meeting new people,
Mm-hmm.
experiencing new cultures, learning new languages. That's something that I'm making a point to do more routinely. Um, and being a little bit more open with the people I love and trust, my friends and my family. Because I'm a Virgo, I'm like private almost to
It's
a
a
detriment.
yes.
Um, and so I think being able to open up myself in ways I didn't think I could allowed people to feed into me more than I ever
Imagine.
imagined. So that has been really, really great. Even meeting you that day, like I did not expect to have
No,
our
neither did
conversation
I.
as long as it was and as deep as it was.
Yeah. That
And I
conversation
just
was
had more.
great. That
Yeah,
was
you
like
really
I
spoke life to
that
me.
to me it's like you don't ever expect to step into a room and have these amazing conversations with people. But those two, Kristen and Shaq, made it their
Yeah,
business to surround themselves, but put people in their home that they knew were going to be full of love and networking and conversation. And I'm just so grateful for them. So grateful for
yeah.
them. They were just here a couple days ago and they were just, you know how they're just a bundle of joy that just like
Mhm.
walks into your home and you can feel this aura of happiness and oh my God. So, once again, never did I think that something good would come from showing up at somebody's house because I'm very much like to be in my home.
Yeah,
I like to be home. I like to enjoy my space. Um, but that's something that stimulates from being a workaholic because I choose to be because I don't want to deal with, you know, what my reality sometimes is. But
yeah,
my goal this past year was to show up when your friends invite you places
for sure.
because you never know what's going to come of it. And sure enough, that proved the point every time. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we definitely that night. I wish we could have recorded that conversation because that conversation would have like sparked so much for other people, so much.
Yeah, but you spoke so much life into me that day. I really appreciated that because I, I think we spoke a little bit about people pleasing then and
Hmm.
learning how to put up boundaries
Yes.
and protecting our energy. And
Mm-hmm.
so I really appreciated that.
No
Thank you.
problem. This is my pleasure. Absolutely. Okay. So I only got two more questions for you. So if you can go into a middle school and have a
Mm,
conversation with young women, because I don't want to call them girls anymore because these girls is like growing up like nobody's business. If you can have
okay.
a conversation with these young ladies, these young women, what would that look like? What would you tell them?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's okay. It's a thinker.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the word that I really needed in middle school. I don't want to be cliche either.
No, you speak your
Um,
truth. There's no such thing as cliche, on especially not on
mm,
this podcast. Speak your truth.
um, I think I would tell young girls that their feelings are their truth.
Mm, mm,
Whatever whatever you feel inside, like, whatever you think of yourself, your environment, like, is your truth. So to be mindful of that. Um, I think I would say that, like, experience is the best teacher.
mm.
So experience as much as you possibly can.
Oh, I love that.
Mm. And then not to take like your like your failures are your teachers, but not to take them too seriously, because I,
Mm-hmm.
I was big on, the negatives spoke
Oh,
so
yeah.
much louder to me than my
Yeah.
accolades. And I just, with heartbreak, with all the certain things, like, we put armor on ourselves to protect ourselves, and but I just, don't make yourself small.
Mm-hmm.
Another one. I know I'm rambling now,
No,
but
I mean, these are the words that you would want somebody have to, to speak to you on. I feel like we
yeah,
don't, I am 2 years older than you. We didn't get that.
yeah,
We didn't get that enough.
yeah,
So no,
and,
you're not on a rant. Go ahead. Tell them
yeah.
children what they need to know. Educate them young
Don't
ladies.
hide. Yeah, but don't hide. I'm really speaking to my younger self. Like,
Mm,
there's no parts of yourself that you need to hide.
mm,
Um, if like, your feelings are your truth, wear them on your chest and wear them out loud. Um, it Just don't feel the need to make yourself small for anyone or anything. Even the things that you think might not go over well, it
mhm.
really just moves people out of the path that don't need to be there, and enlightens the path that you need to be on.
Yes.
So don't hide any part of yourself.
I
Yeah,
love
that's
that.
what I would say.
I love that. That
Thank
was
you. What would you say? I'm so curious,
um
cause.
I would tell them that speaking for yourself isn't a problem.
Mm,
Don't let nobody tell you that speaking up for yourself is a problem.
yeah.
Because I feel like now more than ever, we expose these kids to so much.
Mm,
And when they want to talk about things, no one has answers for them.
mm,
Or they tell you, you're causing a problem, you're causing a scene. It's like, no, speaking up for yourself is not a problem. It might
yeah,
make people uncomfortable, but that's what accountability looks like.
that's so true.
So, yeah, that's definitely what I would say to them because
Yeah.
we don't, and Black coaches, we don't get to do that. You know,
Mm,
being raised in a household where we're, you know, being raised in a household where we're told, you do as you're told.
mm,
And if you speak up, you're being viewed as a problem. You're being viewed as, disobedient. And you're not.
mhm.
You should be able to ask these questions. You should be able to get answers
Oof,
for these questions. And I know I'm going to stir a lot of problems in the older generation with what I'm saying, but it's the truth though. Like my goddaughter,
yeah.
she'll ask me a bunch of questions. At first, I'm like, this kid, if she don't shut up. But I wanted to break that generational curse of not answering her questions and saying, no, do it because I said so. No. Okay, why do I have to do this? Because it keeps you safe. Why should I know this? Because if anything happens, you have to know how to respond. Like we have to stop thinking that just because you don't have the answer for it doesn't mean that it's an absurd question. Do your
Yeah.
own research too, you know?
That's so powerful, coach, because I feel as though that's why I got into journalism. I have an insatiable curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always gotten in trouble for one, being in grown people conversations. I was always
Mm-hmm.
say, get out of grown people conversations. So I always had something to say.
Yes.
And two, I asked so many questions. I think that's got me in trouble in church a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as a
Yeah,
young kid
me
in church,
too.
I did not understand certain things.
Yes.
I always had a question, and it was also like shunned as if I didn't have no
Had.
faith.
Mm-hmm.
But and as we get older, and some of these questions still haunt us, we don't know the answer to. I
Yep.
think it's so empowering to just let people know, I don't know. I don't know,
Yeah.
or like let's figure it
Figure it
out
out
together,
together.
or all that sort of stuff, because sometimes I feel like we love to sun our children by letting them know, like to try and put on a
Yes.
facade that we know best or we know everything, and we don't. But those
Right.
questions create people that change things. Like the
Mm-hmm.
innovators of the world are the ones that are asking questions, that they don't just get handed things down and never question it.
Yep.
Those are the people that are going to change the world, and we need to empower that. Absolutely.
Yes.
That's super powerful, coach.
Empower your own voice, empower your own story, empower yourself. So your empowerment can impact somebody else. And that's
Absolutely.
literally the reason why I started this podcast. Not to sit here and gossip about what this person is doing, that person is doing, not to sit here and, you know, create these false truths. No, I want people to speak their truth. I want
Yeah,
people to get the answers that they're looking for because I know you didn't get them all the time, you
true.
know? So also giving women a platform to share their stories because you might think you're the only one that's going through these things. More than likely somebody has something similar to your story,
Yeah.
but has made a change in their life to get them to be where they want to be
Mm,
and I remind you that you can do the same thing, you know? And we didn't have that as kids. You
mm-mm.
had Angela Yee, and not to shade her, but she was talking about black men. You were talking about,
Yeah,
what's going on in the industry, but talk about what's going on with these women. Talk about, acts Little Kim, what happened in her
right,
life and how it changed her. We're now getting these documentaries about these artists because their story is being told differently than
right.
how they should have been able to tell their story then. So
Exactly.
it makes a big difference. And I
Yeah.
love that knowing you and who you are and your credentials speak for themselves. It's a reminder to young women as well as older women that your story isn't just nothing.
Mhm.
Your story is not just an ordinary black woman. Your story means something to somebody, and somebody
Yeah.
is going to speak on it one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah, and people deserve to have, like, control over their own story, because
Yes.
people will take that from you if you
Uh
let
huh.
them.
If you let them, they'll run
Yeah,
with their own narrative.
for sure. So I'm really glad that the industry still got a long ways to go,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
the people have, like, more authority over telling their story from with their own words and their own perspective.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely.
All right. My final question. My final question. So, obviously, my podcast is called Libation and Vibration. So,
Mhm.
what is your favorite libation? It could be a cocktail, a mocktail, a latte, a coffee. What is something that boosts your own spirit that makes you feel good when you have it?
Mm, I love a good, fresh, and strong ginger beer.
Whoa! If I could high five you right now, I would.
Hey, coach!
Because yes.
I
Oh
love
my God,
ginger
I love
beer.
ginger beer. Love
Yes,
it.
it reminds me of my grandmother's house. I love a
Mm-hmm.
little bubble. I love a little
Spice.
kick of that ginger, the spice going
Yes.
down your throat. my favorite thing. I mix it with whiskey if I'm being bad. I keep it straight when
Mm.
I just need something relaxing and cool.
Yes.
I love ginger beer.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
Well, next time I see you, if I know we look, I'm bringing ginger, but
Yes.
that is something like that's forever in this house. I always have
Yes.
ginger beer in this house because it's like
Mhm.
to me that's like low key holy grail.
Oh, absolutely.
Some people are like your obsession. I'm like, listen, I used to have a really bad obsession with ginger ale to the point where I didn't have it once a week. I literally would get sick. And then I changed to
Wow.
ginger beer. And I'm like, I love this. Like, you're still getting carbonation, but it doesn't have that much more, like, it doesn't have that much sugar in it.
Sugar. Yeah.
So, and it's so much more spicy. Like, this is how ginger ale should taste in my mind.
Yes. Let the ginger speak for itself.
Yes. It's a Caribbean
Yes.
thing. It's a Caribbean thing.
It's
I
a
agree.
Korean thing
I
for sure.
agree. Well,
What about
Imani,
you? Like
well,
ginger ale for you too?
I'm a ginger ale addict, but I haven't had ginger ale in 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Like from somebody that had it all the time. Haven't had it in 3 years. My favorite thing is I got put onto it a couple weeks ago. Actually, it is a Moscow Mule martini. I'm not sorry, Moscow Mule
Ooh,
margarita. So they
wow.
call it mule margarita.
I love that.
Girl, it's the ginger beer
And the
and
tequila.
tequila
Yeah.
with a spritz of lime in there.
Mhm.
Oh, ball game
Bomb.
change. Ball game
Bomb.
change.
Yeah.
Like it's like now, like I go places. I'm like, can I get a mule margarita? And they're like, what is that? A Moscow Mule, but with
Yes.
tequila in it. Like,
Oh, sure. I gets down with the Mexican mules for sure.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So that's
That's
absolutely my
fire.
favorite. That's my assumption right now.
I love that. I love that.
Well, Imani, I appreciate you joining my podcast. One,
Oh,
I
thank you for
appreciate
having me,
you
coach.
agreeing so quickly too. I enjoyed having you. I enjoyed having this deep conversation. I enjoy you being my friend as well.
Thank
Uh,
you, coach.
but I can't wait to see what you accomplish in 2024. You've already
Thank
done
you,
so
Imani.
much. I already know you're going to accomplish and kill the game, kill the industry. They're going to know your name. They're like, yeah, Monty Johnson. Yeah, we know her. We know
I
her. So
appreciate you
I'm
and
excited
literally
for you, and I appreciate you
thank
coming on
you.
board. Okay, and let's end off with a cheers. I wish we had glasses of ginger beer because
Right.
cheers, cheers, cheers.
Right. Here's my little orange
There you
juice.
go.
No, but thank you so much for having me and thank you for creating this space for women and for all people to really be able to just speak their truth and to vibe out
Yeah,
the same way that always allow for other people. And likewise, everything that you spoke to me, I
thank you.
tenfold for you as well. Thank you so much, coach, for
Thank
having me.
you. Thank you. No problem. Well, guys, thank you for watching our podcast today. You're watching Libation and Vibration, and we will see you guys soon. Cheers.
Cheers.